Okay, good afternoon from Brussels, first of all, and welcome to the finals of Solar Power Europe Solar Sustainability Awards. We're very happy to host the second edition of our Sustainability Award after the success we had in the first edition last year. My name is Raffaele Rossi. I'm a Senior Policy and Market Analyst at Solar Power Europe, and I'm delighted to be moderating this webinar, where we will have few pitches from the 5 finalists of the award, which we will present in a moment. But before that, let me also thank all the companies that have submitted their application to the Sustainability Awards. We had a number of applications, and there were several very interesting projects that applied. However, I have to say that this year's competition was particularly tough, but we still strongly encourage everyone to participate in the future editions. Without further ado, let me introduce our distinguished members of our jury today, which I also invite to turn on their cameras. We have with us today David Moser, who is Group Leader of Photovoltaic Energy System at EOREC Research. Very nice to have you, David. We also have Alexandra Stomstay, Vice President Europe at Aqua Energy, and also a distinguished member of Solar Power Europe's board. And last but not least, Matthew Murford, Head of Business Development EMEA at First Solar and Chair of the Sustainability Workstream at Solar Power Europe. Hello, the three of you, and very glad to have you here today. How does it work? We have, as said, 5 finalists. We will hear the presentation from each of these finalists, which will introduce us to their project or initiative they are applying with. After each presentation, we will ask members of the jury to ask some follow-up questions to the presenter, so that the project can be better explained. Once all 5 finalists have presented, we will ask the 3 of you to select one initiative that, in your opinion, should win. How the voting goes: the recording of this webinar will be sent to all participants of the Solar Power Summit, which is taking place next week in Brussels. Only the registered participants to the summit will have the right to vote on the event platform. So the recording of the webinar will be sent to them. They will also be available as on-demand content in the summit app. And upon the conclusion of the summit, the winners will be announced. I hope this is clear enough. So I wish good luck to all the presenters, and without further ado, we can start with the first presenter following an alphabetical order. So I'm very glad to have with us Miriam De Biasi, which is Head of Environment and Impact Mitigation from Enel Green Power. Miriam, the floor is yours. You have 5 to 7 minutes for your presentation, and then we will follow up with some questions.
Thank you so much. I try to go on with the presentation. So my name is Miriam De Biasi, and I'm a head of the environment impacts mitigation of innovation of Enel Green Power. Next, please. Okay, so good afternoon to ladies and gentlemen. I'm so excited to participate to these great opportunities from our side. The next, please. Okay, in Enel Green Power, we have a clear commitment in the tackle the climate change and to improve the sustainability of our renewable plants in order to adopt a holistic vision. Can you hear me?
We can hear you, but there was a little echo, so let's make sure that all other presenters are muted. It should be fine.
Okay, thank you. So in our company, so in Enel Green Power, we have a clear commitment in the tackle the climate change and to improve the sustainability of our renewable plants. In particular, an adoption of a holistic vision is enabling a different action to mitigate the potential environmental and also ecological impacts, but also to improve the social acceptability. In this context, Enel Green Power decided to launch a massive demonstration program focusing on the multi-purpose, at least the dual use of the same land through the coexistence of renewable solar energy production with the agricultural activities. The preservation of biodiversity, and in some cases also its restoration, avoiding the habitat's fragmentation, fostering also methodologies and techniques able to improve wildlife habitat, and the adoption of pollinators colonies, safeguarding their habitat, improving the ecosystem services. This is that we call solar diversity. And the last but not least, the promotion of a collaborative approach with different stakeholders, farmers, local communities, in order to create new business models tailor-made on the specific sites with an open innovability approach to include other partners. And for this reason, we speak about solar inclusivity. The demonstration program consists of 9 simultaneous tests in Europe, Greece, Spain, and Italy, in North America and Australia, located in different climate regions and related to different solar layout technologies. The next, please. Focusing our attention in the solar diversity framework, we are testing the way to integrate biodiversity in our PV sites, considering the all available areas. Here you can see the different integration of biodiversity between the PV corridors or within the PV plant in free areas or in the marginal areas close to the plant. The first case is related to the protection of the steppe birds and their habitats. In fact, these species nidify in the ground, and then it's risky due to the use of the farming vehicle in the surrounding agriculture area. In this case, we implemented the leguminous species in the corridors of our PV plant, which provides food and favors also their nesting by promoting the oxygenation of the soil and avoiding also the formation of weeds. The second case is the collocation, the hosting of the pollinator houses in our plants, monitoring their health status thanks to the high-tech hives equipped with specific sensors. In this way, we are able to assess the health and surrounding environmental condition, considering the bees as biosensors. And the last box, instead, you can see the design and the realization of a real biodiversity hotspot in a marginal area, restoring a strip of semi-natural grassland typical of the surrounding ecosystem, maintaining also the ecological continuity with the surrounding context, providing also space, habitat, and forage for these pollinator species. In this case, we are also monitoring specific targets of butterflies. The next one. The main innovative challenge of an green power demonstration program is represented also by the design of agrozootechnical solution integrated within the larger PV plant with different layouts of PV technologies, and in order to develop a specific collaborative multi-stakeholder business models. In this case, you can see the different phase from the land preparation farmer activities on field to the harvest time. The preliminary results are super promising thanks to the partially shaded conditions that improve plant and fruit growth, minimizing the impact of the stress due to high solar radiation and high temperature. The PV system creates a very important and interesting macroclimate condition, as well as a reduction in water consumption, showing how agrivoltaic systems represent a mutual benefit for the crops and solar energy system. In addition, no interference or negative effect on daily operation and plant maintenance and solar energy production had been recorded. The next, please. We know that the renewable plants grow is important in order to reach the target of limiting the global warming, reducing the CO2 emission. But this process can lead to additional issues if these grow and plants are not properly managed. Here on the left, you can see some of the potential effects on environment and ecological responses of a large plant that doesn't take into account the surrounding landscape. For example, the soil compaction, that means poor soil health and long land recovery times. The large sites without a proper designing could create biodiversity loss or loss of the fragmentation of the habitat and so on. We have also a problem with the soil erosion and the changes in the nutrients dynamics. So it's very important to design now, not in the future, a sustainable solar park, fostering the ecological diversity, protecting and restoring the biodiversity, and enabling additional coexistent businesses as animal grazing, sustainable agriculture, through sustainable practices adoptions. The adoption of these sustainable practices during the daily operation and maintenance PV plant, integrated with the agrozootechnic and zoological activities, could have a positive effect also on the soil organic carbon, represented a mean to tackle the climate change. The next, please. Here, very briefly, only the demonstration that a sustainable solar park is possible now, not tomorrow, with bees, bumblebees, other pollinators-friendly integration, enabling also the honey production as well as the agricultural yield increase. Next, please. Or to have a special guest in our plants as the sheep that grazing reduce the operational cost too. The next, please. And the last is the collaboration with farmers and local communities together in harmonies. The next, please. Thanks a lot for your attention.
Many thanks, Miriam. Very nice presentation and very interesting project. I would invite the jury members to reactivate their cams, and I don't know if there's any outstanding questions for Miriam. Yes, Alexandra, you want to start?
Good afternoon. Many thanks, Miriam, for your very interesting presentation. I noticed that you have biosensors on regarding the bees aspect of your plant, and I would like to know, how do you measure the soil oxygenation that you referred to? Do you work with ecologists? So, I mean, I would like to hear about that. Thank you.
Thanks for this question. Yes, about the biosensor, we use the specific sensors in the hives. So we have the high-tech hives in order to monitor the status of the colonies of the bees. So temperature, humidity of the hives, also I mean the quantity of the honey that they are able to produce, for example. So I mean we are managing, we are evaluating the activities of the bees. So we evaluate the health status of the environment, takes into account the health status of the bees. So the bees are the biosensors in this case. Instead, about the soil carbon oxygenation, we are trying to put in place some specific protocols, because we know that the CO2 emission is also related to the brief of the land, for example, and also the use of not sustainable practices by the agriculture point of view. So we try to monitor this specific point, considering we have to define the protocol in order to understand how we can evaluate this CO2. But in some cases, we are putting, for example, different species, not, for example, perennial ones, in order we are able to measure, for example, how many of CO2 we are able to capture by the roof of these plants. I don't know if it's clear or if I reply to you. I can hear you, but
all good. Thank you so much, Miriam.
Thank you too.
Raffaele, if I may.
Sure.
Okay. Thank you very much. Also, Miriam, from my side, very interesting. I have a billion of questions about this presentation. I will stick it to two. The first one is that if you have included the end use of electricity in your concept, so, or if the PV plant is just grid connected in PPA or whatever form of tender system you have. So if you are looking into the use of electricity to decarbonize the supply chain of the agricultural sector. And the second question is if you have a feedback not only from the agricultural stakeholders, but also from people who needs to do maintenance of the PV system.
Yes, thanks, David, for this question. Okay, about the first one, at this time, this test will be launched in the already in operation plants, because we want to understand with a massive demonstration plant that it's possible. But in our idea, of course, we want to cooperate with agriculture, but also end users. So it means that we can explore different types of business model according to the different scenarios. So of course, we are open about it. Instead, about the second one is yes, the point of view of operational guys. They are super excited also by these activities, because in some cases, for example, when we have, for example, the monofacial system, so the monofacial panel, you have an improvement of the energy. So at this time, we want to really understand how many we can improve this energy production, for example, due to the microclimate conditions, because the temperature goes down, and then you have, the temperature of the panel goes down, and then, the energy production is higher. We also evaluating the effect on the bifacial panels, for example, because, we can have a different negative impact with albedo, but it's not true, because it depends on the growth of the plants and also, the specific seasonality. But according to, with the protocol that we put in place with the operation and maintenance guys, they don't have specific problems during the operation, because in some cases we, of course, define the different strategy of the implementation. So it means, for example, that when you have the tracker system, you can, clean the system, putting in the different orientation of the PV panels. No? So they can go in the free corridors in order to take, the maintenance or cleaning the system. When you have the system with the fixed system, fixed structure, in this case, you can have a buffer. So you have the free lines, free areas where you put them in the machinery equipment in order to have maintenance and so on. So from their point of view, they are so excited. We are also managing the safety issue, because the people coming from inside of our plant, they had a specific training about the safety issue, but at this time we don't have specific issue. So they are so happy, and we want to, because in this moment, these 9 pilot demonstration scale are considering more or less 30 hectares. But in the next months, we want to go in the first plant with a sort of scale up. So it means that to go in at least the total amount of the plant. So we are working on it with them.
Thank you.
Thank you too.
Hi there, Miriam. It's Matt here. Thank you very much for the interesting presentation. Just what you were saying just now made me wonder if the concentrated water outflow from the fixed or tracker arrays could be actually directed to agriculture running in lines, because that's actually maybe an interesting way to recapture water usage for the plant. But my 2 questions are, first, I'm interested in, do you already, I understand your experiment design, but do you already have some, let's say, quantitative results for, either the horticulture or the bees or some of these other experiments that you've launched? And then really, as a follow-on, do you see anything really promising that could be scaled up effectively to a large scale, to, as you started to say, to maybe even cover an entire utility scale plant? Thank you.
Thank you, Matthew. Yes, about the preliminary results are so very interesting, because, for example, considering the agricultural yield, we improve this yield in some cases from 30 to 60% of the production of the agricultural production, due to this very good microclimate condition that we have in the corridors. So in our test, we are of course considering the free areas where we have not controlled areas, so where we don't have the influence from the PV panels, so no shadowing from PV panels, and we are comparing the results. And the preliminary results about, for example, the peppers, but also the aloe, so different types of crops that we have on field, they are so promising about it. Of course, there are some species that are not growing in a very good way, but it depends on the species. But there are some cases that the production is very important, is higher. And then also we have a reduction of water. So from this point of view, the farmers are very happy. About the second one was I don't remember. Sorry, Matthew. I lost your second one.
Do any of the concepts look promising enough to possibly scale up effectively and economically?
Yes, yeah, sure. Sorry. Yes, we are evaluating the scale up in a plant, in another plant that we had. These good promising results. We want to go in the scale up, so it means that we want to try to implement this solution in 60-70% of the land of the PV plants. And in this case, of course, we are evaluating the business plan because we want to decide if it's economical point of view is sustainable, because at this time we know that is of course is sustainable by a feasibility, because we have these results, and we want to evaluate what is the breakdown in the curve in order to understand if it's economic or not. So of course in the next months we will have this experience and more data to share with you. I think next year, not yet.
Thank you very much.
Thank you too.
Sounds very interesting, and yeah, I also look forward to seeing the further results of this initiative. Thank you so much, Miriam. And let's move to the next presentation. So I would invite Emilienne and Susette, if I hope I pronounce it right, to join me on. Yes, I can see you both, and you should be given control to the slides. Welcome, and I look forward to your presentation. We cannot hear you yet. Let's, yes, now it should be possible.
We cannot hear you, Suzette. You have any trouble with your mic?
Okay, I was sorry because it was saying here that I was muted by the organizer.
We should have unmuted you, so we can hear you both. Please go ahead.
Thank you, thank you. Thanks, Rafael. I am Suzette Patricio, responsible for project development for Gulp. Very happy to present our project here today. Very proud to be finalist of this award. So I will start with a quick overview of Gulp. If you can move to the next slide, please. Thank you. So Gulp is the next one, please. Gulp is an integrated energy player with more than 150 years and is now present in 11 countries. Next slide, please. The renewables and new businesses unit is key in Gulp's energy transition path, and is focused on developing a sustainable and diversified portfolio of renewable energy generation. Gulp's current portfolio consists of 4.7 gigawatts in Portugal, in Spain, and more recently in Brazil, of which 950 megawatts are already in operation. Gulp's ambition is to develop its renewable generation pipeline, which will enable reaching over 4 gigawatts gross operating capacity by 2025, and to expand and diversify its portfolio towards the 12 gigas by 2030, exploring opportunities in other geographies as well as other technologies, and also storage options. Next slide, please. So the project that we bring here today is located in the south of Portugal, in the municipality of Alcotim, where Gulp has currently under construction 4 PV plants with 144 megawatt installed capacity. Since very beginning, Gulp was deeply involved with the municipality, and as the permitting was moving on, Gulp gained the commitment to support local communities. For the definition of the support, we first bet on having a fine understanding of the local community, demographics, access to services, and other local challenges. Alcotim, for you to have an idea, is one of the poorest municipalities of Portugal, suffering from abandonment, desertification, poverty, and social exclusion issues. The 46% of elderly people is high. It's a high percentage when compared to the average of the 22% of the rest of the country. There are no secondary or higher education schools in the municipality. And regarding the areas of interest, Alcotim, in fact, has already in place some initiatives regarding environmental education and social innovation projects. So they have appointed us sustainable mobility and ecotourism activities as being the most relevant for them. Next slide, please. The Sustainable Mobility Project was named PEDALCO. PED comes from pedalar, which is a Portuguese word that means cycling in English. And ALCO comes from the name of the municipality. The project consists of the creation of a sustainable mobility circuit equipped with electric bikes that will connect several points of interest in the village. The global length of this circuit is around 2.5 kilometers. And the aim of the project is to stimulate well-being, the contact with nature, to promote mobility in a sustainable way. And beyond the impacts on well-being, this bike circuit was also designed for touristic purposes. Next slide, please. Beyond the Sustainable Mobility Project, a social inclusion program is also foreseen to be implemented with a local association called Odiana. And this program consists on the donation of some equipment and to assure the presence of a personal trainer for the practice of physical exercise by elderly people. This activity will take place in a local care home. Also in coordination with Senior University, we will promote a space dedicated to handcraft production. An area for workshops and handcraft exposition will also be created. And finally, we have the intention of having our bikes decorated by handmade products developed by senior people of the region. Not here listed, but also worth to mention that beyond the project we are presenting here, Gulp has also donated 30 laptops during the COVID time to the group of schools of Alcotim. Since it come to our knowledge that some of the students were not able to connect to online classes. And finally, regarding biodiversity, Gulp has also donated 10,000 square meters of oak trees to ICNF, which is the Portuguese Nature Conservation Institute. And as I said, these two initiatives are already executed. So I will now give the floor to my colleague Emilian, just for him to give you an idea of what is Gulp's task force regarding biodiversity and social acceptance. Thanks.
Thank you, Suzette. And let's move already to the next slide, please. So the reality is that for us, this project, this Alcotim plan that Suzette just introduced was a real eye-opener for us. It demonstrated basically how an approach looking for the generation of shared value with our host communities was instrumental for the success of our projects. So it made the case for developing this kind of approach in a more structured and in a more systematic way across our portfolio. Based on this, we as Gulp are engaged in building an overall sustainability strategy to apply to our entire portfolio, integrating ESG metrics in all aspects of the project lifecycle, and also with the clear objective to create shared value for communities. So beyond socioeconomic impact, our task force is also looking into biodiversity topics and circularity. Next slide, please. So in this slide, we'll see some concrete examples across those three areas. So just pointed out some of them. So in terms of biodiversity, so we are developing collaboration with local scientific organizations to develop science-based facts and science-based data to characterize the PV ecosystems and understand better how they work and how we can take actions to improve biodiversity in those. In terms of the creation of shared value, so on top of projects of the kind of Alcotim, we're also developing energy options for host communities and also working on the employability of people through training in the fields of renewables and new energies. And all this, well, we do in an open framework. We understand the benefits of collaborating with partners, local partners, universities, associations, and also by sharing our challenge, we can listen to others' proposal and enrich what we do. All this looking into replicability and making this structure for Gulp. And next slide, please. Okay, so that's the last one. So we'd like to thank Solar Power Europe for this organizing this award. We truly believe that the main virtue of this award is to really allow us and our peers to share the good practices that we are developing and to showcase how good and fair our solar industry can be. And in that sense, for us, it's already a big win to be here and to be able to share that because we understand it belongs to a wider movement and it's the way to go for our industry. So thanks a lot and all the best for the rest of the contendant as well. Thank you.
Many thanks to both of you for this very, very inspiring project. I think there's some questions by our jury. I don't know who wants to start. Anyone wants to go first?
Yeah, I can start with well, thank you very much also for this presentation. I think, Raffaele, maybe next year you could have a social inclusion award. Because here we go a little bit, it's of course in the concept of sustainability, but it's also, it covers broader aspects. I think my question is, what is your entry partner to engage with the local community? Is it a municipality? How do you identify the stakeholders to talk to?
Thank you, David, for the question. Yes, the municipality is one of the stakeholders of our project. So each time we go to a site and start a project, we try to identify the main stakeholders and try to understand where can we be of any help. These specific projects that we bring here today, it is a kind of a joint effort between two entities of Gulp, which is Gulp Foundation and a company that belongs to Gulp named Flow, that is focused on the development of technological solutions for sustainable mobility, and a third party that is in fact the municipality of Alcotim. The other part of Gulp is Gulp Foundation, that is a private non-profit entity that has the objective of promoting the Gulp Group's intervention in areas such as citizenship and social responsibility. I don't know if...
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions from the jury?
Well, yeah, if I may, but thanks a lot, Suzette and Emilian, for your presentation. So yeah, what I found interesting is your micro approach with Alcotim. So I wanted to know whether you have already duplicated this approach in other cities and possibly outside Portugal.
Not yet, because Alcotim project is the first project that Gulp is currently under construction. Our idea is, I would say, not replicate the project, but replicate the concept of trying to understand what matters for the local community. It can be a bike circuit, it can be anything else, depending on their needs. So I would say that the concept is to approach the main stakeholders, understand their needs, and try to be focused on what in projects that regarding biodiversity, regarding sustainability, regarding social responsibility, but according to the needs of each community. It could be this one, it could be something similar or something different.
Okay, thank you.
So the question of Alexandra touches the point of replicability, which is very, very important. So what in our current activities, one of the things is that we really want to develop a set of actions that we know are replicable, because they are either based on our regular business, for instance, adding solar rooftop solutions for neighbors or for the communities, training. This is something that can be done at scale. So there is one part that is built on actions that have a high level of replicability, and then, as Suzette mentioned, the other step is to look into the specifics of each cases. Okay, knowing that we already are in rural areas most of the time, so there are also some similar necessities as well.
Question from my side. Thank you. I appreciate the third community-specific solutions approach. That's a good strategy. Just to better understand your scope, Gulp's scope with regards to the electric mobility, did you provide the bikes basically to the community, and then they maintain and pay for the electricity? So it's kind of a handover, or will you have an ongoing relationship? You know, to ensure that it's sort of a sustainable, you know, long-term solution. And second, yeah, I don't know about the distance or the interconnections between the actual solar power plant and the electric bikes, but was it at all possible to power the bikes with green electricity in this case? Thank you.
In this case, what is foreseen is a kind of handover. We are going to deliver all the equipment, and we will support the municipality at least during the first 3 years. But the municipality has also the intention of extending this concept to other places in the municipality, including they want to connect with Spain. And what is in fact foreseen is that they will be the ones managing the project with our technical support. But it's the municipality that is going to decide how to do it. And the other question you had regarding the electricity is also foreseen that is going to be the municipality promoting that part.
Okay, that sounds very interesting, and I'm also looking forward to seeing more developments of this great initiative. So many thanks also on my side for your presentation, and I would ask then the next speaker to come online. We had a little technical problem ahead of the meeting, so let me double check if David is able to present. David, are you on the line?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Perfect.
Okay,
Thank you.
Floor is yours.
Okay, thank you very much. First of all, I want to thank the jury for selecting us to be one of the finalists. This is a great honor and a well-deserved acknowledgement for all our workers and at all levels in RC Solar Norway that have made this development come true. I will start with a short introduction. If you can take the next slide, please. Yeah, next one. There, thank you. I will start with a short introduction to REC Group. REC was founded in Norway in 1996 and has been in the business for more than 25 years. During this period, we have produced more than 43 million panels that is providing power to 17.5 million people. We have about 1,500 employees, most of them in Singapore, where we have today 1.5 gigawatt panel production capacity with a consistently high quality throughout the years. Next slide, please. In Norway, we are 250 employees working in 2 production sites. In this picture, you can see our facility in Kristiansand, where we produce solar-grade silicon, including purification of kerf. The picture on the bottom right-hand side shows the sampling of silicon converted from kerf in one of our new furnaces. And the next slide. And here you can see our facility in Herøya, where we have a new and final purification step. Next slide, please. Okay, as you all know, the Siemens process is the dominating technology for production of solar-grade silicon. This conventional production uses a gas phase process route, which requires a very high energy consumption. As you can see in the graph on the right-hand side, silicon feedstock using the Siemens process accounts for more than 50% of the total carbon footprint of a solar panel. Next slide, please. In this picture, we want to show that the wafer cutting process, in this process, about 30% of the block is lost as fines, what we call kerf, and only 70% of the material ends up as wafers. In the picture on the right-hand side, at the bottom, we have illustrated the size of a kerf particle compared to a human hair. Such small particles result in an extremely high specific surface, which is one of the main challenges converting kerf to solar-grade silicon. In 2016, we managed to convert kerf to solar-grade silicon with a high yield and a high quality in our pilot equipment. And this was the kickoff to go forward and industrialize the new process. The board of directors took the decision to invest in the new process in 2019, and 2 years later, we started the production of E2M. Okay, next slide, please. Now I move over to our process. Our new process replaces all quartz with kerf as a new raw material. We have several purification steps, all of them developed in Norway. Even though the kerf particles are intrinsically very, very pure, it contains a lot of impurities in the surface that comes from the wafering process. The first purification step happens already in the processing of kerf, which is our first production step. Our second step is also completely new process with new equipment. One of the main challenges was to melt these extremely small particles, achieving a high yield and a good quality. Then, after melting the kerf to silicon, we need to refine the material further with several processes like leaching and solidification. The result is a solar-grade silicon with a purity compatible with 100% mix and no loss in solar efficiency. Before I go to the next slide, I want also to take the opportunity to mention that according to a Bloomberg report, about 56,000 tons of silicon per year will be available from recycling of panels in 2035, only in Europe. With our technology, we are convinced that we can purify this silicon and convert it to high quality solar grade silicon in a cost effective way. And this is the next step we want to take in circularity. Okay, next slide, please. So the result on the energy consumption and the carbon footprint can be seen in this picture. There have been a lot of huge improvements on energy consumption in the Siemens process. And in this slide, we're showing figures for the Siemens process ranging from high energy consumption and carbon footprint according to pre-tabulated values to the best case in China. Here we also show the values for a previous quartz-based metallurgical process and the values for a new kerf-based process, like you can see here. To visualize the positive impact of our production on climate change, we have included a calculation showing the emission of CO2 from our process and comparing it with the CO2 emissions from an equivalent volume produced with a Siemens process in China. As you can see, the reduction of CO2 is reduced by more than 1 million tons of CO2 per year. The equally important sustainability improvement, though, is that our new process has become 100% circular. Next slide, please. To summarize, our new E2M product reduces the carbon footprint down to 7 kilo CO2 equivalent per kilo silicon. Also equally important from a sustainability point of view is the fact that 30% of the silicon is rescued from unnecessary waste, and thereby the extraction of virgin natural raw materials is reduced. Further, we are now in a good process to use our E2M polysilicon in our panels produced in Singapore. Already, E2M is used in the production of REC Twin Peak 4 panels, and qualification of E2M for our N-type cells technologies is ongoing with very promising results. So next slide, please. So this was the final slide. Thank you all for your attention, and looking forward to listen to the rest of the finalists. Thank you.
Many thanks, David. Very, very interesting presentation, and good to see the interaction between the efforts in carbon footprint reduction, but also circularity. I think it's two very important activities that are very relevant for the solar industry. I wonder who wants to start from the jury. Anyone wants to kick it off?
I'm happy to start, Matt Murphy from First Solar. So thank you, David. I really applaud your efforts. You know, in advance of this meeting, I checked with our experts. I'm no technical expert, but they confirm that this is a true technical innovation. So I'm really happy to see that. Lowering the carbon footprint of the module is something that's going far beyond the rest of the industry in silicon, and so I think that's something that all the players need to do to reduce the carbon embedded in our products. One question is I'm just wondering how much, because I think a lot of your energy inputs are from hydropower and clean energy sources as well. So how much of the contribution to your low feedstock footprint is from hydropower in Norway versus coal? I think it's largely coal inputs in China, for example, versus this this innovative kerf upcycling. That's question number one. And I guess it's not so much a question as a comment, but I am equally or even more impressed by your statement that of the possibility that you could start to engage in high value recycling of any silicon module and take those back and upcycle them into new modules. I think that's something that's going to be more and more important as the we have more and more plants coming offline as they reach the end of their useful lives. Pretty soon we're going to see just gigawatts and gigawatts per year. And so this is a really breakthrough technology. So really pleased to hear that you've solved that. Thank you.
Thank you. Good question. If I showed it in one of the slides, if you go back a couple of slides, you see the difference between the energy consumption and the carbon footprint, because that shows the difference between the Norwegian hydropower electricity mix and other electricity mix. So if you look at electricity consumption, it's more than 85% lower. So in any case, it is a quite significant amount comes from the electricity consumption and the needs for power. So it requires much less energy to convert the kerf to silicon through our metallurgical process.
If I may?
Sure.
Thanks, David, for your presentation. It's very enthusiastic to see what you do, and I think for solar IPP like us, it is super important. So I can only but congratulate you. My main question is, do you have plan to have factories in Europe?
We have a factory in Europe.
In the EU.
EU. Oh, in the EU. Well, now we have a polysilicon plant in Norway, which is not in EU. But what we do now is just to establish the new supply chain with our polysilicon. We want to connect it back to the panels in Singapore that we are working with, and then the next step will be to explore the possibilities for expanding, because if you see at the amount of kerf, we use only a fraction of what is available today of the kerf. So it's huge potential. The dream would be to use the kerf from Europe, and today the only place that we can get that about 10% of what we need as raw material comes from Northern in Norway that has a small production, but they want to expand as well. So my dream is that the European solar value chain, solar PV industry has a rebirth and starts producing again. That would make a completely circular consumption in Europe and production in Europe with a very low carbon footprint. So 30% of the feedstock can come theoretically from us or our technology, or from others with our technology, and 70% needs to be with the virgin Siemens product. As you need, we can only reclaim 30% of the loss from wafer cutting.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, just one comment rather than a question from my side. Thank you very much, David. You put us in a difficult position because we are about to publish the strategic research and innovation agenda of the ETPV, and we will have to to look at the target values we wrote for 2030 for the electricity needed for silicon grade silicon and kerf losses, because you're already beyond that. So thank you very much for what you presented.
Well, yeah.
Well, then also thanks on my side. I think you also touched upon a very interesting topic for us, which is European manufacturing, and indeed both on our association side, and if I can speak broadly from the European PV industry side, we're both very excited to see how the developments are going to take place, also in light of the topic of strategic independence of the European solar value chain. So we'll see how to what extent we can re-establish a strong manufacturing base in Europe. So many thanks once more for the presentation, very insightful. And without further ado, let's move on to our next speaker, which coincidentally I believe is also Norwegian. So from Norway to Norway, I'm very happy to welcome Hans Olav. If you can show you on your camera. Yes, here you go. So please, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. You're right. I'm here in Oslo, Norway, and thank you very much for the super exciting presentations so far. And it's also good to see that we're offering very different projects. And now I'm over to Africa, actually. Let me see. Just very quickly on Skulltech, we are a global IPP company focusing on emerging markets, delivering an integrated business model where we do everything from developing, financing, constructing, and operating the assets we have. We have about 3.5 gigawatts of production in operation, mostly solar, but also hydropower and wind. And we're also now developing projects in green hydrogen. In Europe, we are mainly present in Ukraine. We have 250 megawatts operating in Ukraine. Actually, all still injecting power today during the war, which we find encouraging in some ways. We're also working in Czech Republic and in Poland. But again, this is about Africa, and what I wanted to talk about today is a solution that we have developed over the last few years of rapidly available and reliable flexible solar and battery solutions, hybrids and flexibility is the key word. Coming back to where this is manufactured, this is a pre-assembled and containerized tracker solution with bifacial trackers, similar to what we normally use in our IPP projects. But the difference is that it is movable, and it's manufactured and pre-assembled and prefabricated in our manufacturing plant in Spain by our supplier, and it is quickly installed. It's modular. We build this in blocks of about 1 megawatt per unit that can be combined in several ways, and then we finance it through a normal, simple rental agreement. This is our response in Africa, primarily to the complications of getting the normal PPA and long-term commitments of an IPP structure based on the project finance in the market. With this solution, we can provide flexibility, avoid long-term commitments from the customers, and avoid the sovereign guarantees or the other type of guarantees required otherwise. And this is focused on the mining industry, but also the utilities, weak utilities, and the shorter duration temporary use. And this is what we have done and looked at in Cameroon. We in the north of Cameroon, currently it is a very difficult situation. there's a drought which is caused by the climate changes that has left minimal hydro power or water in the reservoirs. This lack of power and drought has caused crisis and turmoil and conflict, theft and crime. And a quick solution was needed to secure power. This is where we have now entered into a contract with the utility, Eneo, and the Cameroon government and we are constructing 36 megawatts of solar and 20 megawatt hours of battery in country at 2 different sites in Garoua, in Maroua, and in Gider. We signed the contract with effective date in November, and as I'll come back to in the pictures, we've already installed 5 megawatts that are injecting power. This is through this rental contract, as I mentioned. I think the innovation here is really the way this is built, and the blocks of modular system that we can offer quickly. This means that we can, unlike other solar projects, we can actually inject and start injecting the once we have are starting to install, and we will build the third. We have are now injecting 5 megawatts, while we are still continuing to install the rest of the project. Also the modularity provides also the flexibility of adjusting capacity up and down as depending on the customer needs, and making solutions that can also be changed also contractually and commercially, in the sense that you don't need to open up a complete PPA and a financing solution to add a couple of more megawatts or reduce if needed. Obviously, also the other advantage here, particularly in these type of regions and where time is of interest, and also risk with regards to safety is an issue. Obviously, having quick installation times and limited contractors on ground is a big advantage. Here we are. It's only 40 people that are installing these 36 megawatts, of which 38 are locals. I'm not sure if you can. This is actually a video showing the deployment as of 4 or 5 days ago. With the the closest ones here are products that are about to be installed, whilst in the back you can see the system that is already operating. This is in a very dry area, and we're waiting for the rainy season where everything will turn green, and we can start having cattle, etc., grazing again in the area. But unfortunately, as I talked about, the rainy season is very short. The numbers are also attractive. It makes a lot of sense. We are going to produce 78,500 megawatt hours a year from this system. We price it at the price of 8.5 cents for the first 5 years. If the customer is going to extend, the price for rental is going to drop. We put up here savings of about $8 to $10 million per year compared to diesel, which is the alternative. but currently you can double that in savings due to and this is obviously one of the main benefits is to reduce the diesel consumption, also reduce a lot of the bad consequences of diesel trade in the area, which is leading to theft and crime. We have done this in cooperation with IFC, which is a partner in the project. I think we have been actually positively surprised also in doing the EIAs and conducting the ESG processes in close partnership with the Cameroonian government and with the NEO, according to IFC standards, and making this possible in only 6 months. This has a tremendous impact on the local communities and the ability to get power in a period of crisis, and we are very happy to see that this model, which we think is innovative and it's allowing power to become available quickly and at an affordable price and sustainably in many similar situations. I think this is our that was it from my end. You're muted, Rafael.
You're right. My headset was mute. Many thanks for your presentation. Very insightful. I find it particularly interesting because it brings together the aspect of mitigating climate change, but also adapting to climate change. So I'm actually looking forward to hearing the questions from the jury and your follow-up answers. Who wants to first? Alexandra, please.
Get started. Many thanks for your presentation. It's interesting to have more information on your product. So my question is the one of time. How much time do you need to install your system once the container is actually on the ground?
It's a matter of how many people you are, but we normally operate in teams of 10 people, and they're normally able to install a megawatt a week if once we're working efficiently.
Okay. Thank you so much.
It's fair to say that obviously the more preparation works that is done with regards to cabling and interconnection, etc., this quicker we can get in this injected. So obviously we work on preparations while the equipment is shipped to be able to solve and be as efficient as possible on ground.
Okay, and I have a second question, if I may, Raffaele. Yes. Do you always set up your system with a battery, or do you sometimes install just solar PV?
This is sometimes also we've set up projects with the PV only. Yes. So battery is here, especially in this very weak grid, and with it's here to stabilize our load and also stabilize the rest of the grid. So it depends on, and we're using different batteries and different applications depending on where we are. Yes, so that depends.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Also from my side, it's very interesting solutions. It would be nice also to discuss on details about the reliability, but we are here to discuss about sustainability. So Do you also have a program to train the local skills, labor skills, and to look into the management of an operation of the PV plants? Because especially if it's in a remote area, you cannot really send someone all the time there.
So this is obviously the customer here is the utility. So they have and this is a captive plant, which is a bit different from an IPP solution, right? So this is really managed and dispatched by the utility. We are training local people to do the works on ground, and our intention is not to have our own people on the ground at all time, simply because it gets more expensive, it requires a lot of structure, etc. And what we always do is we have this is connected directly to our remote monitoring and 24/7 operation room in South Africa, and we are supplying obviously training and make sure that before we leave this this equipment, there are a structure in place and people in place to manage it on a day-to-day basis, and always supplying spare parts and maintenance and monitoring and services. And obviously we are also providing performance and availability guarantees on the equipment.
Thanks.
Yeah, question from my side. Thank you very much. Really appreciate this clever technical solution to what is the commercial challenge, where you have a lot of these, and it's a very perfect application for solar energy, right? When you're offsetting polluting diesel or whatever the captive power plants are being used by the mines. The big challenge was always for the industry that these mines sometimes only have an 8 to 10 year operating life, and they can't commit to a 25 or 30 year offtake agreement. And so, yeah, very clever. And this, yeah, if it's successful, it should just continue to increase the spread of solar everywhere. That's why I love this industry. Just two questions for you. Just with the extreme volatility in the container shipping market, I know this is a pre-containerized solution, so everybody's facing this challenge. And I'm wondering, is this facing challenges, or is it somehow fundamentally advantaged when you so-called kit all of the components into an individual container and ship versus traditional power plant where you're shipping individual components from different locations packed in the containers? Maybe it's really a question about kind of the shipping density and the efficiency of shipping, because this is now a big cost factor. And second one is simple question: have you actually deployed and then uninstalled and redeployed a system yet, or is this sort of the first rollout? Thanks.
Yeah, the first question is obviously a very relevant one, and which we're facing right now is the excessive logistics and transportation costs, which was on its way down until a month ago, unfortunately, and the invasion in Ukraine. And now it's up again, and clearly it is a disadvantage of this system right now that there's one additional shipment, because we were shipping modules from China, Spain, and then shipping them to the site, which was not a big issue and a cost lever previously, but now it's clearly one. Still, we believe that the efficiency and the less, there's no need for piling, there's no need for concrete, there's a lot of savings on the ground, particularly when the size of the project is not that big, and it's in these type of areas where EPC contractors and manufacturing, setting up a plant on the ground is extremely expensive. There's a lot of savings anyway, but you're right, it's an element that makes it slightly more costly. So we would very much like to see that REC can deliver both low CO2 and low cost modules in Europe. That would make this even more efficient. And my view, obviously personally, is that I think that we will see these type of solutions everywhere. I mean, there's only one kind of argument for not prefabricating and pre-assembling these systems, and that's maybe the local labor that is reduced somewhat in a short period where you normally use a lot of people on ground, whilst here you simply have less use of people on ground. But otherwise, there's so much in doing most of the work in a factory where you can have control of quality and get the costs down. On the second question, we have not redeployed a project that has been operating for more than, obviously we've tested this, so we have had one container sitting out for months, but we've not kind of redeployed it after years because it's a new system.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, many thanks once more for this exciting project, and yeah, I also look forward to seeing it's a wider application. So I will keep track of how your project is developing on that regard. Thank you once more, and last but not least, I would invite Beth to join us. Yes, we can see you, and you should be given control of the slide as well. Fifth and last presentation before we reach the conclusion of the webinar. But please, before that, Beth, the floor is yours.
Perfect, thank you. So hi everyone, I'm Beth England and I am the ESG Associate for Synetics. So Synetics, if you don't know who we are, we're a global solar independent power producer. We build, operate, develop and own projects all across the globe in about 10 different countries, currently with about 410 projects across the globe there. So we have about 6.5 gigawatts of total capacity at the moment, including our pipeline. And you'll see some of the other stats on the screen here now. And we've also had 4 consecutive years as the GRESB Global Solar Sector Lead, and that's a sustainability benchmarking initiative and something that we're really, really proud of at Synetics. So I'm here to talk to you today about something called the Synetics Sustainability Academy. But before I do that, I'm going to introduce a little bit more widely our sustainability strategy, which kind of leads us into why we've had this focus on our Sustainability Academy. So
sorry, but before you start, I still see the old slides. I'm not sure if it's my problem or everyone else's, but I haven't seen the slides move to the new one. So if you can do a quick check.
Sure, it's changed on my screen, so hopefully it might be a lag maybe. Or maybe if I could ask.
Can I get feedback from any of the other participants if it's only my problem?
I think it's only yours.
Okay.
Yeah, you're loud and clear as well.
Sorry for interrupting, then please go ahead.
No issue at all, no issue. I'm glad that everyone else can see it. That works well for me. So we launched the Synetics Sustainability Strategy back in 2020, and this was developing on some of our pre-existing ESG policies and standards and really trying to take us a step further in the field of sustainability. Obviously, we produce solar power, so for us, we already were doing one thing to help with the planet and some of those global problems, but really we wanted to take this a step further and step outside of this business as usual and really have a positive impact across the globe. So we set out this sustainability strategy, which covered all elements of ESG, including targets towards net zero, resource efficiency, biodiversity. Looking at the governance side, we obviously had a focus on ethics, compliance, transparency, EDI, But really what made our sustainability strategy stand out and what we felt was really important was this focus on what we call the S, the social element of E, S, and G. I think it's very easy for companies to really place focus on the E at the moment, given the nature of those global challenges that we are facing with climate change, with biodiversity. But actually something for us that we felt that was incredibly important was looking at the social side and really how can we focus on the S and at the same time then impact the E and the G as well. And you'll see highlighted in blue there is the word education. And this is really where the rest of our presentation is going to take us, and something that at Synetics we're really proud of is this focus on education as part of the S. We've listed some of the sustainable development goals there that there are many that obviously as a company we will contribute to, but really in line with education, that number 4, quality education, and specifically some of the sub-targets within there are really what allow us to stand out in this social remit. So I'm going to move on the slide and hopefully we can see it. Perfect. So the Synetics Sustainability Academy was born, as I said, through this Synetics sustainability strategy. And what we did was set this really ambitious and high achieving goal of impacting 100,000 learners by 2023, which for us at the start of this journey was quite a daunting number. We sat there and thought, you know, how are we going to be able to do this? How are we going to reach 100,000 learners? And the focus here was going to be teaching them about solar energy, about climate change, about the energy transition, and about sustainability in general, and really building some future ambassadors that will help take these problems forward and continue to solve them as we go throughout this global crisis of climate change. We know that at this moment we can do our part, but really passing this on to the next generation is where we felt the value was really going to lie. So we said we're going to reach 100,000 learners by 2023, and this is through a variety of different methods. So you'll see some of the things we've got up to so far through the Sustainability Academy, which is almost like our umbrella for all of these educational activities. We've done anything from going into classrooms to deliver lessons, from providing educational materials, things like books, any STEM boxes that can help with STEM learning. We've donated those to classrooms so they can continue to do the teaching. We've helped to make schools more sustainable and drive sustainability initiatives. For example, a school in London, close to where I'm based in our London office, we provided lots of recycling bins, did a huge recycling drive with the whole school, and really got them aware of why that was such an important topic. We've had some site visits as well, where you'll see there some students have come to visit our solar plants, been taken round by the engineers and really shown what solar is in real life as opposed to just a picture on the screen. And this has been a really important part of the journey, realizing how we can have an impact and how we can create this inspiration for this next generation of leaders. And then COVID hit. So COVID became a little bit of a barrier. Well, I say a little bit of a barrier, probably a very big barrier in us going into schools and teaching children about solar and sustainability and climate change, because the world essentially shut down. And we thought we still want to have an impact. We still want to continue to do more and more and more. So we thought if we can't bring children to our solar plants anymore, we're going to have to bring the solar plant to them. And this is where we had the birth of something called SoulQuest. Now, I'm going to give you a quick, there's no sound on here, unfortunately, but you're going to be able to see the video. This is a very quick preview of SoulQuest, and I'll explain exactly what it is in a minute. But you're going to see us flying over one of our solar plants. This is the Atacama Desert in Chile, one of our largest projects to date. And I'll explain a little bit about what this experience is in a second. Perfect. Let me try and move this slide on. Might need to pause it. There we go. So this is Synetics SoulQuest, and this is what we're calling the future of solar education. So SoulQuest is an immersive learning experience. This is a tool that essentially brings the students from their classroom or any learners across the globe from wherever they are based to one of our biggest projects to date in the Atacama Desert in Chile. They are able to walk around the site, Think of it like Google Street View, where you walk along the street, but you'll be walking in between our panels, up to the substation, through the control rooms, and you'll get to learn all about solar energy, climate change, and the energy transition. And this was developed in line with many different curriculums, so thinking about geography, thinking about science, making it a really powerful educational tool that teachers can use in the classrooms or anybody can look at to learn more about the role of solar energy and about climate change and what we are trying to do about it. And this was a really exciting prospect for us. And originally we saw it as something that people could use wherever, but actually we opened up a whole new realm and we found a way to really scale this up through museums. So museums became very interested in this very quickly and really provided us a new access, a new point to reach hundreds of thousands of learners every single year, because museums have that captive audience. So we've actually launched this in 2 museums in the UK. There's another one that launched just last month in the UK. We're actually going to be going across seas for the first time with an installation in Miami, which is currently ongoing. And we provide this to them. They play it on a huge touchscreen, and children that come with their school or universities or college students who are interested in solar energy can go and directly see how a solar panel works, how a solar plant works, and how this is benefiting the environment. So this was our way of really scaling up what we were doing at the Sustainability Academy and taking it really to the next level. So why the SNEDIC Sustainability Academy, and why is what we're doing so important? When we think about forward looking, these challenges and these future problems won't be solved by us currently in the industry. I think we can all agree from these presentations today that companies are doing an incredible job at building more sustainable solutions to already a sustainable solution in solar energy in itself. But really what we want to do is pass this on to the next generation, to the next people that are going to be taking forward these problems. And what our Sustainability Academy can do is that it can be consistently updated. We have a portal of resources online, a number of lesson plans, a number of activities that teachers can download that we're continually adding to. And that means they can teach about this in the classroom. We can begin to build that gap where teachers want to teach about sustainable development and sustainable living, but don't have the means or the capacity to do so. And we can continue to add to this if more problems become more inherent in the future in the field of sustainability. We can keep adding to that. It can be tailored and it can have continuous growth. It's also very innovative. So we, with SoulQuest in particular, obviously took advantage of new technology that was coming in with the VR experience. And we created this web-based platform that was available, but this can be used on Google Cardboard glasses. We're going to be developing it for the Oculus as well and really creating that immersive experience. And it's continually evolving. We've just actually launched a comic book as well as another way of teaching and making the most of all these different types of resources. We really tried to make this accessible and inclusive as well. So the Academy, with all of the different activities that fall under it, have a number of different learning methods to cater for as many as possible. Where some teachers may prefer a presentation and a general generic lesson, we have that available. Where they prefer reading and books and environmental themed comics, we have those available as well. And now we have this SoulQuest experience, which actually takes people more in depth, takes them into the experience and really gets a feel for it and teaches through an element of gamification as well. It means anyone can visit one of our solar plants, no matter where they are based across the world. And it's been very, very impactful so far. So through the Sustainability Academy, since it launched in 2020, we've reached around 64,000 learners, which for us, we felt very, very proud of. Being a fairly small team over at SNEDIC, that was actually a huge number for us to be reaching. And the growth is only getting bigger. So we predict that this year from SoulQuest, that immersive experience alone will reach about 100,000 learners this year just from that experience, which way surpasses that target we set back in 2020. So it's been very successful and shows that scalability really up close there. And finally, it's inspiring. So what we really wanted to achieve through the Sustainability Academy is to inspire this next generation of solar leaders, people that can come into the industry, get excited, want to get involved and want to continue to solve the world's challenges. And that's really all that we could ask for. If we can inspire 1, 2, 3, 100,000 students to get into solar, to get into saving the planet, to get into climate change and other STEM areas, then we've done our job in that sense. And really that's what makes us most excited about this project, and we hope makes you excited as well. So hopefully that explains a little bit about the SNEDIC Sustainability Academy, and of course I welcome any questions that may come from this.
Thank you very much, Beth. Very interesting project. I give the floor immediately to our jury members if they have any quick question before we wrap it up and we hear the views of the jury on the project. But please, the floor is yours.
I do have a quick question. First of all, loved it. Thank you very much. I will forward it to my wife, who is a teacher. And I do have a question on if you see, in terms of STEM and gender inclusion, if you see, let's say that this is giving future female scientists the possibility of looking into this direction, if you see a positive impact from that point of view as well in terms of gender equality.
Yeah, 100%. And what we actually did when we set out our targets for the Sustainability Academy and for those learners, we have sub-targets where we are focusing on getting girls into STEM. So we will frequently, through the Academy, visit girls' schools in particular, and we do career sessions for them. We teach them directly about solar and say, you know, there's this really cool field of science and engineering that you should be getting into. So we do quite a lot of direct targeting on girls to inspire them. And we're quite fortunate at Synetics where we have quite a good gender diversity, so we try and get as many as our inspirational female leaders to go into the girls' schools as well and really inspire them. So that's a particular kind of rewarding aspect of this academy.
Thank you.
One quick question on my side. I think it's a very nice initiative, and I wonder whether you would be interested or willing to make it a sector academy, like a solar power sustainability academy.
I mean, 100%. We're one player in a very, very big field of other incredible companies. So this is something that we have publicly available. So a lot of the resources, SolQuest, everything is fully publicly available on Synetics' website. But the extent to which we can share this and have the whole sector utilize this and really ramp up that scale, then that's something that we are fully open to discussion with, and we often try and form partnerships and collaborations with as many different players as possible. Really, we just want to spread the word, and the more people that can help do that, then the better. So of course.
I think just a quick question from my side. Checking out the website right now. Does the learning platform have a culminating experience? So is there some sort of certification or progression, or even maybe even funneling some talented students into your company and into the industry? How does it help to be a feeder to support the job growth and industry?
Sure. So there's a number of different ways. So through the academy, we've started very, very young. We've taught as young as 4 years old about not so much the technical element of solar energy, because that might be slightly overwhelming, but thinking about getting them interested in how the planet is changing, how we can look after the planet. So we've looked all the way from the bottom end, all the way up to universities and master's students as well. So we've had that direct impact where we can see people funneling into the careers. We actually set up a scholarship program for university level students, where we have someone who is currently studying in a STEM subject comes into the company. They don't need to necessarily be in engineering or anything directly related to PV, but just someone with a STEM interest that we will then help them and guide them into a solar career. So we have that program going on in a few countries at the moment. But a lot of the work that we focus on, where we try to encourage people into the industry, is really in that high school age group, that in the middle, where people are deciding their options. So what we do is try and form a bit more of a longer standing partnership with the school. So rather than going in, doing one session and leaving again, or sending them a link to SolQuest, we'll actually try and do multiple activities and really gauge that progress that the students have. And it's more, we develop that relationship with the teachers. There's no real certification or anything like that. For us, it's really opening their eyes, keeping them interested, building that channel of communication between us and the schools that we are partnering with, and really just trying to develop them and make sure we are here wherever they're needed. So, but the idea of a certification is certainly interesting.
Thank you.
Okay, great. Thanks one more, Beth, for this also very exciting program. Okay, I would ask the jury members to stay with me a few minutes more and also express what their preference is about these 5 very interesting initiatives that we've heard. I know that Alexandra has a hard stop at 4:30, so maybe I will give you first the floor. Just let me mention that I think it's a really tough job, because not only the projects are all very strong and interesting, but also because they have very quite different sustainability angles and address different steps of the solar value chain. So we're ranging from technical solution at the manufacturing level, technical solutions at the deployment level, but also frameworks for biodiversity, another framework focusing on rather the social inclusion and the adaptability to the local context, and an initiative on skills and knowledge sharing. So it's a tough choice, I think, but I'm looking forward to hearing what is your favorite pick out of these 5. So if David and Matthew allow, I would say Alexandra first, then let's follow alphabetical order, David second and Matthew third.
I'll be quick, and sorry that I have to rush, but my first vote would go to REC, because I think it's for the solar industry, it's so important to have this process, and I think it should go wider. Then an equal order, I would have the NL project and the one that we just were presented by Sonedix, because it's a step further to their natural activity, and they go way beyond normal CSR activity. And then to me, what Gulp presented is like any CSR activity, so it doesn't add much. And Skulltech, of course, I like very much a product, but it's just a product. So that's it, in short. Happy to develop, but have very little time. But I'd like to hear you.
David, you want to go next?
Yeah, of course. Thank you very much. I do agree with Alexandra with number 1 being REC. If I have to summarize the whole session, I will go for, we heard about solar diversity, inclusion, affordability, education, but I think from my understanding of sustainability, which is based on the famous R ladder, reduce, refuse, rethink, reuse, repair, refurbish, recycle, and recover, I would say the REC was really spot on in terms of the focus of the award. So I would go with REC also to really reward the upstream sector that is trying very hard to reduce the carbon footprint. And this is very important for energy security to bring manufacturing back to Europe. I'm not going to rank the other ones, because for me they were all of equal value, and all they really gave a really nice impact for the specific topic they presented. So I would like to thank again all the speakers.
Matt, your thoughts?
Yeah, awesome experience. Thank you, Raphael. So cool to see this wide breadth of variety. But I think we're going to have a unanimous jury here. Solar PV technology is near and dear to my heart. I also really think REC's ideas are not only unique, but they required quite large investment, and at the same time are commercially scaled up and viable. And that's the most important thing for me. Not only that, there could be a tremendous future for kerf upcycling moving forward, and high value recycling. I was impressed with NL. I think what I am waiting to see soon, hopefully, is a large scale deployment, really a commercially viable, vibrant, functioning agrivoltaic plant with dual use of the land. I think that would be very impressive, and I expect that's probably their next step. But I largely agree with the other jurists. So REC is my number 1 shot, my number 1 choice by a long shot. So thank you.
I actually,
we have.
Very sorry. With my CEO, so I have to go.
Thank you very much to all of you. Thanks for your feedback. I understand that from the jury we have a clear preference, but indeed the vote will depend mostly on those of you who are attending the summit. So indeed, registered participants to the summit will be able to vote on the event platform. So as said, we will share the recording of this webinar, and it will be available on the day of the summit as well through the app. And we will announce the winner at the end of the ceremony at the Solar Power Summit in Brussels on the 31st of March. I look forward to seeing you there. Thanks so much to the jury and to the presenters. Very, very interesting projects, and I look forward to seeing you in 1 week. Thank you so much for attending the webinar, and see you soon.
Thank you, Raffaele. Bye, everyone.